Thanks, everyone, for getting on. We still have folks joining. We have hold on for another 5 minutes, and then we'll get started. Anybody get on who hasn't introduced themselves yet? I think I see Frank Hammond.
Yeah, Frank's on.
Welcome, Frank.
I think I may have to disconnect my online audio. I've got the web page up, but I also called in on my phone.
Yep, that's exactly what you needed to do, so you're good.
Okay, I think I'm okay now.
Good.
Frank, I just want to say hello. This is Greg Whitted.
Hey, Greg. Hello, how are you?
Great. I have to be in touch with you. Glad to hear your voice.
Yeah, well, I'm glad I can be heard, you know?
Yes. Absolutely.
Hi, this is Dermot Kennedy.
Welcome, Dermot. Thanks.
Dale Gravitz here.
Hey, Dale.
Dave Lockery.
Hi, Florence Kowalski's on. Hey, Florence. Dave Lockery, I heard.
Yes.
Anyone else?
Tracy Witherspoon.
Hey, Tracy. Thank you. And is Mr. Walden on? Okay.
Hey, Joyce, I'm just noticing on the screen, under the audio controls, it's got a phone number that's not the phone number we're using. So let me type.
Kwasim, did you join us? Should be fine though, Cindy. We have more people on the phone than we do on the...
Okay.
Again, about 1 minute and we'll get started.
Wonder where that 303 number came from.
That's if you don't want to... that number is sort of similar, not toll-free. So.
Okay.
Ron Miller just joined in.
Hi, Ron.
Can you hear me okay?
Perfectly. Yep. Thank you.
I'm on a new earpiece, and I didn't know if it was working right or not.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, real good.
All right.
Hey, Ron, this is Dermot Kennedy. You're coming across loud and clear.
Hi, Mr. Kennedy.
What do you say, Cindy? We ready? Welcome, everyone. This is Joyce Sacco with the Housing Alliance of Pennsylvania. What we wanted to do today was talk about the visits that we're doing in the district and in Washington, D.C. There is a little background noise. What I'd like to do is not mute all the lines. So if you can just mute your own phone by doing *6, that would be great. Again, *6 to mute your line. You know what? There's still a little background noise. I'm going to mute the lines. Yeah.
The conference has been muted.
Cindy, can you hear me? Yep, I got you. You got me?
Yes.
Great. Okay, I'm going to start us off. I'm Joyce Sacco with the Housing Alliance of Pennsylvania. We're very excited about the legislative action that we're taking with the Housing Alliance and our members around the state. As you've all agreed, we're seeing we have meetings scheduled with Senator Toomey in all his district offices next week, and another one the following week. And then we're going to see 3 new members of Congress plus Republican members that have key positions on committees in the House. The Housing Alliance has been doing this work forever, as many of you have, and many of you have been on these meetings before, and it's old hat, but we wanted to go through some real basics. Cindy Daly, the policy director, is going to talk in depth about sort of the content, the ask for the meetings. What I wanted to go through first was some of the logistics. As you know, the Housing Alliance, we go at these meetings in a positive, solutions-oriented approach. Certainly the people we're going to see know about the need, and the need is part of the conversation. But what we want to do in all these meetings is talk about how the federal government money works in local communities. So again, talking about whether you're a for-profit developer, not-for-profit developer, attorney, social service provider, someone with lived experience, you can talk about how these programs and services and businesses are affected by the federal government and how we want to continue to push and advocate for more affordable housing for people with extremely low incomes. Again, the district meetings start next Tuesday and go through Friday, and then there are a couple the following week. The Housing Alliance is also planning a trip to Washington, D.C. on Thursday, March 2nd. Again, if people want to, many of you have signed up for that, but if you haven't and want to, feel free to reach out to me, Joyce at housingalliancepa.org, or just give us a call and we can get you hooked in. Our plan is to see both Senate offices and as many House members as possible. The House and Senate is in session that week. For the visits, each visit has a team leader. We've had a number of planning calls about the visits. Each team will have a leader. You should know who your leader is. The leader will start out talking about the ask. Each meeting, there's different amounts of people at different meetings. Some of them have 4 to 5. Some of them have upwards of 10 to 12. The leader will start out the meeting, do a thank you, talk about who we are and why we're here, and then we'll go around the room and each team member or participant will talk for about 2 to 3 minutes, give examples about how you work in a local community. Again, the leader will have the ask, which will be, and we'll have a leave behind letter and talking points. Many of you have received the draft. Tomorrow, Colleen Downey will be sending out in a PDF all of the final information for the meetings. Your team leader will have the packet of information to give to the member, to the staff person in each of the meetings. But I would suggest, which we have on the individual planning calls, to make sure you bring a packet of your own information on what your program does. Again, it's a way to start to build the relationship or continue the relationship with the representatives or senators. So, and then at the end of the meeting, the leader will close with the ask again. We will want folks also to thank the member, the staff, after the meeting for the time. We also wanted to, I know certainly these days there's a lot of things we might want to talk about, Medicaid, repeal of the ACA. The real goal and the mission of the Housing Alliance is to talk about housing and homelessness and community development and make sure those funds are secured. So as much as we might want to bring everything else, the leader will make sure we stay on point and move what's important to our constituents and our communities. So we'll open up the lines for questions at the end. I know some of you have signed up and may not be slated for a meeting, but we will get to that. And the other thing I wanted to say too was if you're not and you wanted to do a meeting, we could help plan that, or you could plan that on your own. And again, before I pass it off to Cindy, who's going to talk a little bit more in depth about the talking points and the content of the meeting, is the Housing Alliance for years, this is the work that we do. So we're sometimes discouraged by what's sort of happening in Washington, or it feels big, but we, like in years past, this is the conversation we just continue to have. So we're excited. We have probably over 110 people have signed up for these meetings in both district and in Washington. So on behalf of the Housing Alliance, we really want to thank you for your time devoting to this issue and taking time out of your day to participate in these meetings. So again, we'll open up for questions at the end, and I'm going to pass it off to Cindy Daly.
Thanks, Joyce. And I'll go through this material fairly quickly so that we can have a conversation. Joyce, you did send out the letter and the talking points to people?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All
and
right.
then Yep.
Okay. So basically what we're calling the leave behind letter is the letter to the Congressional Delegation, and I think we're actually going to send it out in advance as well as bringing it with us. So some of them may have taken a look at it already, but let's run through it. There are really three main lost it. Here we are. Three general areas that we're focusing on in these visits. As always, the budget. As Joyce said, this is the same advocacy. Yeah, Congress has changed a little bit, but we've been advocating for funding for these programs forever through Democratic and Republican administrations and Congresses, and it really doesn't matter. We need to keep highlighting this. Let me just, by way of background, say that HUD is a very small part of the federal budget, I think about 3%. There are many, many things that they're focusing on, and so it's our job to keep housing and community development in front of them and make sure they're thinking about it. The other thing I would say by, as a general statement, you're likely to hear there's not enough money. There's like trillions of dollars. There's a lot of money being spent. I think I saw somewhere that it's expected that the federal government will spend $4 trillion this year, something like that. So it's not that there's no money. It's a question of how they spend it. And we want to make sure that they spend some of it on, enough of it, on affordable homes and community revitalization. So there's the budget, and I will get into a little bit more detail as we move through. There's low-income housing tax credit. There is tax code reform, and we need to look at where low-income housing tax credits fit in. And then, as you all know, there's been a lot of talk about an infrastructure bill. We want them to start thinking about housing and community revitalization as part of infrastructure. And actually, I'm just go back for a second because I want to take a look at the letter itself, which is not in the slide, but you have. I actually looked up a definition of infrastructure, and so what we have in the letter is infrastructure refers to the basic structures and facilities that are needed for the operation of our society. So really emphasizing that society doesn't function when people are not housed and when there are buildings falling down around them. All right. So the talking points, of course, we'll get to the point of making those asks, but we have our general goal. Our overall goals are not are that we don't want people to experience homelessness, right? We don't want people to be paying 70% of their income for housing. We don't want people living in the midst of blight and abandoned property. So to put it in a positive sense, we want vibrant neighborhoods. We want to end the shortage of affordable homes and ensure that no one experiences homelessness. And so the funding for HUD and USDA programs, tax credit, infrastructure, those are ways of getting to the goals. Here are the overall goals. Emphasize the success stories. Emphasize what these programs have done. When people are housed, then kids do better in school, and parents can go to work, and talk about what we can do when we remediate blight. We create businesses and housing, etc. That housing is really an essential component to anybody's well-being. We know now there's a lot of emphasis on the connection between housing and health. Has a tremendous economic impact on the community. And let me stop here because I think it's not actually in the slides. But again, going back to the Leave Behind letter, the letter to the Congressional Delegation, the approach that we took this year is to really emphasize the benefits of all of these programs to the private sector. And so it's not just the residents and the clients that we care so much about, but that there really is a strong public-private partnership here, that tax credits bring the private sectors to the table, put private money into these developments, that the Housing Choice Voucher Program relies on the private sector to provide the homes, so that we're working with private market landlords to house people, and that it benefits those landlords and the communities. The Health and Housing Connection brings a partnership between healthcare organizations, some of which are private sector, and the housing world. And to the extent that people are healthier when they're well housed, then there are less costs imposed on say hospitals, emergency room visits and all of that. So we really want to emphasize the partnership with the private sector. And then, of course, you all know that being well housed is essential to doing anything else. I'm going to talk a little bit about the need, but again, the approach that we've taken over the years is we know how to solve these problems. But we need, and here are the examples of how we've solved these problems at least in part, but the lists are long. There's still more to be done, and we need the resources to do it. So again, as Joyce said, an emphasis on solutions. And then getting back to the ask, we are still in the midst of conversations about the budget for the current year, fiscal year 17, which started October 1st. We have a continuing resolution that expires April 28th, and so they either will adopt a budget, which is highly unlikely. They may pass individual budget bills. We hear that the Transportation HUD bill is pretty much agreed to by the House and Senate, or final negotiations are taking place, and by the end of April it will be agreed to. So they could pass individual budget bills, and that would be fine. Or they may just do another continuing resolution, in which case we need to be sure that they include what's referred to as an anomaly. So a continuing resolution basically continues the previous year's funding levels forward. But for things like housing choice vouchers, where rents go up every year, rent and utility costs increase, it's essential that the line item for that program increase just to stay even. So we're not talking about creating new vouchers or vouchers. We're talking about keeping people housed who currently have vouchers. And then, of course, by the time we're there, conversations are starting, and certainly during the spring we'll be starting for the FY18 budget. The issue with the tax credits is that if they lower the corporate tax rate, the value of any tax credit, corporate tax credit, diminishes. And so they have to make adjustments in the formulation of the tax credit in order to keep the value to the investor so that projects can pull in the same amount of money that they're pulling in now. So actually the first thing is making sure the tax credits survive in the tax code. We hear positive things, that the low-income housing tax credit is popular, but we don't take anything for granted at this point. And the second thing is making sure those adjustments take place. We know the conversations are happening in the Ways and Means Committee in the House, but still it's important to bring it to the members' attention. There is a bill in the Senate to basically double the amount of the tax credit, and that's the Cantwell-Hatch bill. They're looking for co-sponsors. Representative, it's pronounced Teaberry, in the House is doing, I don't know, not actually a similar bill, but it will be the tax credit vehicle in the House, and then there'll be I don't call it compromise, but a committee, the House and Senate will pull it all together at the end. And again, I talked about housing as part of infrastructure. So let me move on here. Oh, okay, so that is the end. So I was running through that. Let me see, again, so I just took like 10 minutes to say all that. Each of you, and of course each of you doesn't have to go through all of this, but each of you, as Joyce said, will have 2 to 3 minutes. So really think about emphasizing, here's the other thing, emphasizing, again, what you do, a success story, and how the federal programs have made it happen. Because what we really need to get across is that this is not money that stays in Washington. This is money that comes into the community and benefits their constituents and makes their communities better places to live. So you really want to, again, in a few sentences, a couple of minutes, this is what our agency does. These are the kinds of successes we've had, and we really rely on, whether it's CDBG or home or tax credits or whatever it is. So I will stop talking now and open the line to questions.
So for folks, if you want to chime in or ask questions, do star. Actually, I'm going to unmute.
Yeah.
And we can have a conversation.
The conference has been unmuted.
Well, so one question to you is, let's just talk this through for a second, right? So we have, assuming as of April, if Susan does her job, we'll close Huntington, right? So Huntington closed, we'll have Belmore and Mount Desert closed.
Hello?
It's really hard to hear you.
You know what?
So May, we'll have
$1.2 million again.
that's out there.
The conference has been muted.
Okay. Somebody seemed to be having another conversation. We're going to leave it muted and ask people if they want to unmute by doing *7.
I think somebody was asking a question, but perhaps on a speakerphone or in a car, it was very difficult to hear. So try it again now that the lines have been muted. Use a *7 to ask your question. Anyone? *7?
Yep. I'll just jump in real quick, Ray Baum. What do we have in the way of data? I'm sure you have lots of it, but what do you want to bring along?
What data do you want?
I can talk to that actually, Ray. Gail Schwartz, who's going to lead the 2 Pittsburgh meetings, will have a packet of information tomorrow. What you'll get is leave behind the talking points, a county fact sheet which has the housing wage, age of housing. It's chock full of information. It has information about housing authorities. We also have the Housing Advisory Group, which is the national folks who do work on low-income housing tax credit, and we have that by congressional district and by Pennsylvania. So that information will be in the packet to go to the rep and the senator staff people, but you'll also, everyone who's participating in a meeting will get a PDF tomorrow with all that information in it. So I think that will have what you need.
The legislator doesn't get the talking points, right? But they get
no, he does
else.
not.
The participants get the talking points. Other questions? Star 7. You all know where you're going?
Mr. Walden, are you going to go to both Dent and Toomey in Allentown? You asked a question. If you want to unmute, do star 7. Anyway, I can just tell you then. For the Congressman Dent meeting, which is next Wednesday, the lead is Dan Farrell, the Executive Director of the Housing Authority in Allentown. And for Senator Toomey with Marta Gabriel in Allentown, this is Joyce. I'll be the lead on that.
Joyce?
Yes.
Hi, this is Gail.
I wanted to ask where the office for Representative Kelly was.
Hold on just a sec. Dale, you want to go first, and then we'll get to Congressman Kelly.
Sure. I guess this, maybe I just missed it. Has there been emails sent out on the only email I've received is the one dealing with Ian's meeting. Have others been sent out, or a list of the teams for Washington or anything like that?
Yeah, I will. The Washington thing we're still working on, so nothing's been sent out on that yet. We're still firming up the schedule and the participants. And the only other piece that I think affects you, unless you want to go to the Senator Toomey meeting, which I can send you after this, on March 7th in Philadelphia.
That would be great. I would. That's close by, and yeah, I would do that. Yes.
Great. We'll send that to you.
Thank you.
Sure. And I think, was that Ron Miller? And we can talk. I can give you a call after this. For Congressman Kelly, the lead of that is Chuck Scalise with HANDS. He's also on the Housing Alliance Board.
Yeah, I know Chuck. Just give him a call.
Yeah. Yep. Or, I can call you later and go through stuff if you want. And for the Senator Toomey Erie meeting, the lead on that is Bill Grove and Diana Ames from the Mental Health Association.
Okay. Yeah, I'll contact Chuck.
Perfect.
We're on the Palmer board together.
Great. Thanks so much. Others?
Hi, this is Dermot Kennedy. I don't think I've seen a copy of the talking points or the leave behind for.
We have, let me just pull that up, a planning call tomorrow, Dermot, and for the other folks that are, sorry.
But I was planning on participating in the call tomorrow also.
Yeah, the call's tomorrow with the folks for the Fitzpatrick meeting, and that, let me just double check, and I'm sorry about my phone ringing. Sorry. Anyway, it'll be sent out tomorrow to the folks, or I can send it out today for the folks who are doing the Fitzpatrick meeting.
And does our packet of information contain raw data with respect to what the overall impact is to the economy at large, like $2.2 billion on an annual basis, or the number of thousands of units of low-income housing that's provided or brought online each year by the tax credit projects in the various different states and districts?
I don't know if it has, I think we have Pennsylvania in district numbers. I don't think we have national, but I have to look at it again. Cindy, do you remember?
I don't. I would focus on Pennsylvania anyway. But so we have the tax credit by district. Is that what you said, Joyce?
Yes.
All right. Now, I don't know if we've calculated or if the Housing Advisory Group has calculated economic impact. We have a general figure that we use out of an economic impact study we did in 2009. We commissioned when we were in the midst of the Housing Trust Fund campaign. And every dollar invested in housing construction or rehab turns into anywhere from $1.62 to $2.28, with rehab actually being the high end and new construction being the lower end.
Thanks.
But even if you don't have the exact dollars, to be able to talk about the contractors who are employed, the suppliers, the the architects, and local businesses that are involved, maintenance.
Yeah, because certainly here in Bucks County, the tax credit program has been the only program in the last 10 years that have brought on any meaningful level of affordable housing here in the county, which is a high cost of living area.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yep. Other questions? We want people to feel comfortable. So any questions now, and you can always call the Housing Alliance office. You can see our numbers are there. Email, and we can go through this stuff separately with people as well. It's really, I guess, from doing this for a long time now, this is for some starting the relationship with the new members of Congress, but also that we're not going away. And this is important to, again, our communities for lots of reasons. Economic, it's important to, personally, that we make sure people have all the same opportunities, and having a safe, decent, affordable home is the way to start.
There's one other thing I just thought of that we didn't put in the written material, but when you are talking to the legislator, presumably their staff, invite them out to see your place. So, if you have a property, invite them to tour it. If you have a class of people, invite them to a graduation. Invite them out to meet your residents, as well as see the good work that's happening in the community. Thank you all. It's really wonderful to know that so many of you are willing to give your time to do this.
Any final thoughts or comments? Well, we thank you again, and have a good weekend. Feel free to, again, call us if there's any follow-up questions. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.